Ethan, come over and take a look at this. Sloane Sterling pushed the tablet toward me, the screen's glow highlighting the sharp, refined line of her jaw. I glanced down. It was a personal profile. In the top right corner was a photo of a girl who looked barely out of her teens, ponytail pulled tight, eyes strikingly clear. Chloe Bennett. I read the name aloud. Exactly. Grew up in some small town in the Appalachians. Top of her class, but her family's got nothing, Sloane said, leaning back in her leather executive chair. I'm planning to sponsor her until she graduates. Tuition, fees, the works, plus a monthly stipend for living expenses. I arched an eyebrow. Is the CEO of Sterling Media feeling charitable all of a sudden? She rolled her eyes and tapped the photo on the screen. Look at those eyes. She's focused, pure, and has a solid foundation. Sponsoring her is an investment, Ethan. Don't you get it? Once she graduates, she comes straight to the company. I'll know her history inside out. It's much more reliable than hiring off the street. You aren't worried about biting the hand that feeds you? Sloane laughed, reaching out to poke my forehead. Ethan Miller, do you think everyone is as calculating as you are? It's called building a loyal inner circle. She pulled her hand back, her tone turning casual. By the way, her university isn't far from our penthouse. She'll be coming by occasionally on weekends to help organize some files. Think of it as a work-study thing. When you see her, be nice. I didn't think much of it at the time. She was just a kid, right? On Sunday afternoon, when the doorbell rang, I was in the study responding to emails. Sloane was at the office for an emergency meeting. I shuffled to the door in my slippers and opened it. A girl stood there, looking exactly like her photo. Simple white t-shirt, faded jeans, and a backpack that looked like it had seen better years. Her ponytail was impeccable, revealing a smooth, bright forehead. She was clean, almost excessively so. When she saw me, she visibly froze. She immediately lowered her head, her fingers twisting the straps of her backpack. Her voice was thin. Ashiru. I'm looking for Sloane Sterling. I am Chloe Bennett. Sloane isn't here. Something came up at work, I said, stepping aside to let her in. She told me you were coming. Come on in. Chloe darted a quick look at me before dropping her gaze again, whispering a small thank you. She crept past the doorframe like a wary cat. She stood in the foyer, staring at the polished marble floors, motionless. There's slippers in the guest cubby, I said. She let out a soft oh, crouched down, and carefully took out a pair of guest slippers. Her movements were so light, they were almost silent. The study is that way. I pointed. Sloane mentioned there were some documents on the desk that needed filing. Okay, thank you. Ethan. The way she said my name was blurred and hurried, the tips of her ears turning pink. I paused for a second, but didn't correct her. She could call me whatever she wanted. I went back to my emails, and before long, I heard the faint sound of footsteps. Chloe entered with several heavy folders, gave me a slight nod, and quietly sat at the low table by the window to start working. The only sounds in the study were the rustle of paper and the clicking of my keyboard. This girl was quiet, so quiet I almost forgot she was there. Occasionally, I'd look up from the screen. She would be hunched over, her profile soft, the tip of her nose slightly upturned as she focused intently on the documents, marking things down with a pen. When her ponytail slipped over her shoulder, she'd tuck it back behind her ear. Her wrists were thin, her skin so pale I could see the faint blue of her veins. Audience comment. This sponsored student is actually gorgeous. Audience comment. She's so quiet it's almost heartbreaking. Audience comment. My gut says there's more to her than meets the eye. After about an hour, I got thirsty and stood up to get some water. As I passed her, she happened to look up, and our eyes met by accident. She jerked her gaze away like she'd been shocked, her fingers tightening around her pen. Do you want some water? I asked casually. And no. Thank you, Ethan. She shook her head, her voice still tiny. I grabbed my water and came back, noticing she was looking at a project budget sheet filled with dense rows of numbers. She was reading slowly, her brow furrowed, her pen hovering over a specific figure. Is something wrong? I asked, standing slightly behind her with my glass. Her body tensed for a split second. She pointed to a spot on the spreadsheet. Here. The calculation method for the logistics cost seems different from the previous file. That one used a different formula. I was surprised and leaned down to look. She smelled faint, like sun-dried cotton mixed with a very light, clean scent of soap or simple shampoo. I checked the spot she pointed out and pulled up the old file on my phone to compare. She was right. There was a subtle discrepancy that most people would have missed. You got a sharp eye, I said. She seemed to exhale in relief, her shoulders relaxing. I was afraid of making a mistake and causing trouble for Sloane, she whispered. It's fine. Follow the new one. The old one might have been a typo. I straightened up. Okay, She nodded, her head dropping back down, though the redness in her ears hadn't quite faded. Audience comment. A total detail freak? Audience comment. She's got talent. Audience comment. This is getting interesting. She finished her work by evening. By the time she was ready to leave, Sloane still wasn't home. She stood at the door and gave me a very formal, sincere nod. Thank you, Ethan. I'll be back next week. Get home safe. The door closed, and the faint, clean scent of a stranger lingered in the study for a few moments before drifting away. The second time I saw Chloe Bennett was at a local bistro. I had plans to meet Sloane for dinner, but she got hung up on a client call and told me to order first. I hadn't been sitting long when I saw Chloe walk in with another girl who looked like a classmate. They sat in a booth not far from me. She didn't see me. I heard her classmate speak in a voice that wasn't exactly quiet. Chloe, are you seriously wearing that same sweater from last year? And working on the weekends? You're pushing yourself too hard. Do you want to borrow some of my stuff? I have clothes I'm about to toss anyway. Chloe's voice was still soft, but clear. No, thank you. This one is fine. Oh, don't be so polite. We're friends. Look at you, you're pretty. If you actually dressed up, guys would be lining up. Always wearing this stuff. It looks so cheap. I'm really fine, Chloe said, her voice dropping lower. Hey, by the way, the classmate leaned in, whispering now, but I could still catch bits of it. I heard you're being sponsored by some rich female CEO. Is that true? Why is she doing it? Is there a catch? People that rich are always calculating. Chloe suddenly raised her voice, cutting her off. Sloane is a good person. She's helping me because she wants to. No strings attached. The classmate seemed startled by the reaction and muttered, Okay. No strings, whatever. Why are you getting so worked up? Chloe didn't say another word, staring down at her menu. I frowned. After a few minutes, the classmate headed to the restroom. Chloe sat there alone, her back rod straight, her fingers gripping the edge of the laminated menu so hard her knuckles were white. I stood up and walked over. Chloe. She jerked her head up. When she saw it was me, a flash of panic crossed her eyes. She stood up immediately. Ethan, what are you doing here? Having dinner. I gestured for her to sit and pulled out the chair opposite her. Is that a classmate? Yeah. She nodded, her fingers twisting the hem of her shirt under the table. I heard some of that, I said bluntly. Her face went pale instantly. She started explaining frantically. Ethan, she was just talking. She didn't mean anything by it. Sloane is a truly wonderful person. I know. I interrupted. Sloane has her reasons for choosing people. You shouldn't worry about what others say. She stared at me blankly, her lips moving but making no sound. Sponsoring you was her decision. You accepted it because you needed it, and because you deserved it. It's that simple, I said flatly. You'll never hear the end of people's opinions if you listen to them. Just focus on your studies. Her eyes welled up slightly, and she nodded vigorously. Yeah, enjoy your dinner. I stood up and went back to my table. Shortly after, Sloane arrived, looking like a whirlwind. After we ordered, she followed my gaze and spotted Chloe. Wait, Chloe. Sloane was surprised, then smiled and waved them over. Chloe's eyes lit up when she saw her. She stole a glance at me before walking over with her classmate. Sloane, what a coincidence, she said softly. I'm just out with my boyfriend, Sloane said, naturally wrapping her arm around mine as she introduced us to the classmate. This is Ethan Miller. Chloe, you've met, right? We have. Hi, Ethan, Chloe said obediently, then introduced us to her friend. This is Sloane, the woman I told you about who's helping me. And this is Ethan. The classmate looked incredibly awkward and quickly said her hellos. Sloane chatted with Chloe about school for a minute before letting them get back to their meal. When they were out of earshot, Sloane leaned in and whispered with a hint of pride. So what do you think? My pick is pretty good, right? Hard-working and grateful. I placed a piece of artisanal bread on her plate. Yeah, she's fine. She was just too cautious, like a startled fledgling. After that, Chloe started coming to the apartment more often on weekends. Sometimes it was for filing. Sometimes Sloane had her run minor errands. She always came quietly and left quietly. Occasionally, she'd bring small gifts from her hometown. Inexpensive but thoughtful things like jars of organic honey or dried herbs, left carefully in the foyer. Sloane, Ethan, these are for tea. I thought you might like them, she'd say, then hurry off with red ears before we could thank her too much. Sloane always laughed, saying the girl was incredibly sincere. I didn't pay it much mind. Sloane had to go out of town for a business trip, likely for a week. On the second morning she was gone, I was in the study reviewing a difficult contract when the doorbell rang. Through the security camera, I saw Chloe standing there, clutching a stack of books. Her hair was damp, clinging to her cheeks. It looked like it was raining outside. I opened the door. Ethan, she looked up, tiny droplets of water clinging to her eyelashes. Sloane mentioned she left a book here that she needs urgently. She asked me to find it and send her some photos of the pages. I remembered her mentioning something like that. Colleen, is it raining? Just a drizzle. She stepped inside and changed into her slippers. A small patch on the shoulder of her thin cardigan was dark with moisture. The book should be in the study. Go ahead and look. Sloane probably told you where it is. Okay. She headed into the study with a sense of familiarity. I poured a glass of hot water and set it on the coffee table. A moment later, she emerged carrying a thick, leather-bound volume. Found it, Ethan. Good. Drink some water. I pointed to the glass. Don't catch a cold running around in the rain. She set the book down and cupped the glass with both hands, taking small sips. The steam misted over her face, making her skin look even paler. She wasn't wearing her usual ponytail today. Her hair fell softly over her shoulders, damp at the ends, dripping on her collarbone and disappearing into her neckline. I looked away. Thank you, Ethan, she said, setting the glass down and absent-mindedly rubbing the rim. When is Sloane coming back? 3 or 4 days. Oh, she looked down at her shoes. So, Ethan, are you eating alone? Usually, I know how to cook some simple things. She suddenly looked up, her eyes bright, speaking a bit faster. If you don't mind, I could bring dinner over, just to say thank you for everything you and Sloane have done for me. I blinked. You don't have to do that. I'll just grab something. It's no trouble at all, she said urgently. I have to cook for myself anyway. And with Sloane gone, if you keep eating takeout, it's not good for you. I'm really fast at cooking, I promise. The eagerness and hope in her eyes were so transparent, it felt almost cruel to say no. Audience comment. Whoa. Direct hit. Audience comment. She's playing the long game. Audience comment. Who could resist that? I stayed silent for a few seconds. Fine. Just don't make too much. Her face instantly broke into a bright smile, radiating a sense of relief. Yes. Can I come tomorrow night? Around 6:30? Sure. At 6:30 sharp, the doorbell rang. Chloe was at the door with a large insulated carrier and a canvas tote bag. She had changed into a light blue sundress, her hair neatly brushed, her face flushed as if she'd been in a hurry. Ethan, I'm here. The meal was simple but clearly made with care. Sautéed greens, honey garlic chicken, tomato and egg soup, and a small pot of rice. It actually tasted great, clean, home-cooked comfort food. She sat across from me with only a small bowl of rice for herself. She only reached for the greens in front of her, not touching a single piece of chicken. Why aren't you eating the meat? I asked. I prefer the vegetables, she whispered. The chicken is for you. I can't eat all this. I used a clean set of utensils to put 2 pieces of chicken in her bowl. Eat up. You're still a student. You need the protein. She looked at the chicken in her bowl, her face turning even redder. She whispered a thank you and started eating in tiny, careful bites. The meal was quiet. She was almost silent, chewing slowly and meticulously. How is school going? I asked, trying to break the ice. It's good, she nodded. My classmates are nice, and the professors have been helpful. Is the stipend enough? Yes, Sloane is very generous, she said quickly, then added, I also have a part-time job at the library. It's not hard. Don't overwork yourself. School comes first. I know. Thank you for worrying about me, Ethan. Another silence. She stole a glance at me before looking back down, her fingers picking at the edge of the placemat. Ethan, are you always this busy with work? Usually. Then, make sure you rest. Especially with Sloane away, you need to take care of yourself. I gave a non-committal hum. Audience comment. Look at this atmosphere. Audience comment. She's playing the caring card. Audience comment. Sloane, your house is on fire. After dinner, she insisted on doing the dishes. I stood by the kitchen door, watching her in an apron, skillfully rinsing plates. The warm light caught her, outlining the slim curve of her waist and the soft line of her neck. The water ran as she hummed a faint, old-fashioned tune, sounding like a folk song. Ethan, she said suddenly, turning around with soap suds on her hands, her eyes crinkling. Can I come cook again next time? Just think of it as paying rent for the space I used to file. I feel like I'm intruding otherwise. I looked into her bright, pleading eyes. The no I had ready died in my throat. Come if you want. Just don't let it interfere with your studies. I won't. Her smile widened. Thank you, Ethan. She was so well-behaved. Almost excessively so. The night before Sloane was due back, she came over to cook, as usual. After dinner and cleanup, she didn't leave immediately like she usually did. Ethan, she stood in the foyer, hand on the door handle, looking back at me. Sloane comes back tomorrow. Yeah. So, can I still come over? After that, she asked softly, her eyes locked on mine. I mean, occasionally. I don't have to cook. I feel comfortable here. Her voice trailed off, laced with a subtle hint of sadness. It's more comfortable than the dorms. I looked at her. She bit her lips slightly, her fingers tracing the patterns on the door handle like a child waiting for a verdict. Just text me before you want to come over, I said. Her eyes lit up instantly, and she gave a heavy nod. Yes. Thank you, Ethan. The door clicked shut. I stood in the suddenly quiet foyer, the air still holding that faint, clean scent of her soap. Audience comment. He's going soft. Audience comment. Who could handle this? Audience comment. Sloane is in danger. Sloane came back. The moment she walked through the door, she dropped her suitcase and threw herself onto me, smelling of perfume and the energy of a long trip. Ethan Miller, did you miss me? I did. I patted her back. She leaned in to kiss my cheek, then sniffed the air. Wait, did you cook? No, that doesn't smell like takeout. Chloe came by a few times. She made dinner. I had no intention of hiding it. Sloane pulled back, arching an eyebrow. Chloe? She cooked for you? Yeah. Said she wanted to thank you and make sure I wasn't just living on junk food while you were gone. Sloane blinked, then laughed. That girl really is thoughtful. She kicked off her heels and walked barefoot into the living room. Well, at least it saved you from a stomachache. Was her cooking any good? It was all right. I told you she was a good kid. Sloane collapsed onto the sofa with a sigh. I'm exhausted. Oh, I got you something. She started digging through her suitcase, the little detail about Chloe already forgotten. It seemed like a trivial matter to her. Another weekend arrived. Chloe was over organizing some of Sloane's old company files. Sloane was home too, lounging on the sofa, scrolling through her phone. As soon as Chloe arrived, she gave a sweet, "Hi, Sloane," then naturally set her bag down and went to the kitchen to pour a glass of warm water, placing it on the coffee table in front of Sloane. Here's some water, Sloane. Sloane looked up and smiled. Thanks, Chloe. You're the best. The files are in the study. Sorry to make you do this. It's no trouble. Chloe smiled back, then looked at me, her voice dipping slightly. Ethan. I nodded. She went into the study. Sloane scooted closer to me, whispering playfully, Hey, I've noticed Chloe seems a little afraid of you. Does she? Yeah. She's so natural with me, but as soon as she talks to you, her voice gets all quiet and she won't look you in the eye. Sloane giggled. Are you being too grumpy? You're scaring the poor girl. Do I look that scary? You don't look scary, but when you aren't smiling, you have a very don't touch me vibe. Sloane poked my cheek. Be a little gentler with her. She's my protege, after all. I caught her hand. Got it. The study was quiet, save for the sound of paper turning. After a while, Chloe came out with a folder, walked to Sloane, and leaned down, pointing to a page. Sloane, the data here doesn't match the supplementary table. It's off by a few %. Is it an input error? Sloane took it and looked closely, frowning. You're right. Good catch. That would have been a mess if we filed it. She patted Chloe's hand. You're so meticulous. I'll let accounting know. Chloe smiled shyly. Just doing my job. Her gaze seemed to flicker over to me for a split second. I was watching them. Our eyes met for less than a second before she looked away, the tips of her ears flushing that familiar shade of pink. Sloane didn't notice. She was too busy praising her. Oh, Chloe. Sloane remembered something. A friend of mine is having an art gallery opening next Wednesday. Do you want to come? It'll be good for you to see how these things work. Chloe froze, then waved her hands. And no, thank you, Sloane. I have an elective class Wednesday night. You can skip one class, or just come after. Sloane was enthusiastic. It's settled. I'll have Ethan pick you up and bring you there. He's going anyway. Chloe shot a lightning-fast look at me, her fingers curling. Her voice got even smaller. Won't that be a bother for Ethan? Not at all. He's going right past there, Sloane decided. Okay. Thank you, Sloane. Thank you, Ethan. She lowered her eyelashes. Wednesday night, I picked Chloe up from campus. She was standing under a streetlight by the gates. She was still in simple clothes, but she had clearly put in effort. Her hair was sleek, she was wearing light makeup, and her lips were a soft pink. She carried a small canvas clutch. When she saw my car, she jogged over and hopped into the passenger seat. Ethan, I'm so sorry. Did I keep you waiting? Just out of class? Yeah. She buckled her seatbelt and sat upright, hands on her knees. The car filled with a faint scent, different from her usual soap. A floral fruity perfume, fresh and light. New perfume? I asked as I pulled away. Her body stiffened. Her fingers tightened, her voice sounding unnatural. Yeah, a classmate recommended it. So it was good for summer. Is it? Not good. It's fine. She seemed to relax slightly, but remained stiff, staring straight ahead and not saying much. The gallery was in a private museum. The crowd was large, filled with the scent of expensive perfume and the rustle of high-end fabrics. Sloane was already there, chatting with friends. She waved when she saw us. Chloe stayed close to me as we entered. The brilliance of the crystal chandeliers, the impeccably dressed guests, the hushed laughter, and the sweet smell of champagne and hors d'oeuvres. It clearly overwhelmed her. She instinctively moved a little closer to me, her fingers lightly catching the edge of my suit jacket. I glanced down at her. She was looking up at a massive, abstract painting, her profile pale under the lights, her lips pressed together. Her eyes held curiosity, confusion, and a hidden sense of dread, like a bird that had wandered into a gilded cage. Don't understand it? I asked quietly. She snapped out of it and let go of my jacket, her cheeks flushing. She shook her head, then nodded. It's a bit deep. Just follow Sloane. You don't have to understand it, I said. Okay, she whispered. Sloane walked over, naturally taking my arm while smiling at Chloe. How is it, Chloe? Getting used to it. Chloe looked at Sloane's hand on my arm. Her gaze stayed there for exactly a tenth of a second before she forced a smile. It's very new, Sloane. The paintings are beautiful. Come on, I'll introduce you to some people. They're artists. It might help you later. Sloane led Chloe away. Chloe looked back at me once, a complicated look before being swallowed by the crowd. I grabbed a glass of champagne and stood in a quiet corner. Occasionally, I'd see Chloe being introduced. Sloane would pat her shoulder like she was showing off a prized piece of work. Sloane, is this the girl you're sponsoring? A woman in an elegant dress asked, eyeing Chloe with a warm but scrutinizing smile. She's lovely, a bit shy though. Small-town girl, pure heart, Sloane laughed. But she's smart and works hard. Chloe lowered her head, picking at her skirt. Someone else greeted Sloane, and the topic shifted. Chloe stepped back half a pace, her eyes searching the crowd until they hit mine. I raised my glass. She looked away instantly and took a sip of juice. Her fingers were white from gripping the glass. After an hour, Chloe looked exhausted. She found an opening and came to my side, her voice barely audible. Ethan, I need to go to the restroom. Do you know where it is? She shook her head. That way, around the corner. I pointed. Thank you, Ethan. She hurried off. A moment later, Sloane walked over and leaned against the wall next to me. Networking is exhausting. Where's Chloe? Restroom. Got it. Sloane swirled her glass, watching the crowd. She suddenly smiled. Do you think bringing her here is too much, too soon? Maybe, but she needs to see the world. She's going to work for the company. She can't be shy forever. Sloane said, but she did well today. Nervous, but no mistakes. As she spoke, I saw Chloe returning, but she didn't come straight to us. She stopped in front of a painting, staring at it silently. It was a small, dark piece, a silhouette of a figure standing at the edge of a cliff, looking out at a gray, foggy sea. She was engrossed. In the dim light, her profile looked blurred. What is she looking at? Sloane noticed and pulled me over. Chloe jumped as if woken from a dream. She turned to us, a forced smile on her face. Nothing, just, this painting is special. You like it? Sloane looked at the painting, then at her. This one isn't cheap, but if you like it, maybe you can buy it once you graduate and start making the big bucks. She meant it as an encouraging joke. Chloe smiled, but didn't say anything. Her eyes fell back on the painting, standing on the edge of a cliff. I wonder what the next step is. Could be the sea, or could be the abyss, I remarked. She snapped her gaze to mine, her eyes incredibly bright in the dark before dropping them again. You're right, Ethan. On the way back, Chloe was even more silent. Sloane had had a bit to drink and was excitedly talking about the gallery. We arrived at the campus first. Chloe got out and bowed slightly toward the car. Thank you, Sloane. Thank you, Ethan. I had a wonderful time tonight. Glad you enjoyed it. I'll take you to the next one. Sloane waved. Go get some rest. Good night, Sloane. Good night, Ethan. She stood there, watching our car pull away. In the rearview mirror, her figure grew smaller until it vanished into the night. Chloe didn't say much tonight, Sloane noted. She's probably tired. Likely. This kind of thing is draining for her. Sloane leaned back and closed her eyes. She'll get there, though. Yeah, I said, looking at the city lights. I kept thinking of her standing in front of that painting, whispering about the next step. Audience comment. Is it starting? Audience comment. The edge of the cliff, Chloe. Audience comment. One step forward and you've got Ethan. 2 weeks later, Sloane had a dinner meeting and wasn't coming home. I worked late and didn't get back until after 8. As I stepped out of the elevator, I saw a figure huddled by my door. It was Chloe. She was hugging her knees, her head buried in her arms. Her usual insulated food carrier was sitting next to her. Hearing footsteps, she looked up. Her eyes were red, and there were tear tracks on her face. My heart skipped a beat. What happened? I hurried over and opened the door. Get inside first. She didn't move. She just sat there, looking up at me, her voice thick with a heavy nasal tone and broken by sobs. Ethan, can I use your phone? Mine. Mine was stolen. I frowned. Inside. Now. She finally stood up slowly. She stumbled, likely from sitting so long, and I instinctively grabbed her arm. She was freezing. She followed me in, standing in the foyer with her head down, her fingers gripping her shirt as tears began to fall again. She didn't make a sound, but her shoulders were shaking. Tell me what happened. Slowly, I handed her a box of tissues. She grabbed a few and wiped her face, her voice coming in bursts. I was tutoring this afternoon, on the way back on the bus. I was so tired, I fell asleep. When I woke up, my bag had been slashed. My wallet and phone were gone. She started crying harder, not wailing, but a suppressed, broken sob. The money. It was what was left of my monthly stipend, plus the tutoring fee I just got. And the phone. It was the one Sloan gave me last year. She couldn't finish. She covered her face, tears seeping through her fingers. Did you call the police? I asked. She shook her head. I went to the precinct. The police said the bus has a blind spot for the cameras. It'll be hard to find. They told me to wait for news. But that was all my money. She looked up at me with red, watery eyes full of helplessness. I'm too scared to tell Sloan. She's helped me so much, and I lost the phone. I'm such a failure. Don't say that. I interrupted. Losing things happens. It's not your fault. She just shook her head, tears falling faster. Audience comment. My heart is breaking for her. Audience comment. The phone was a gift from Sloan. Ouch. Audience comment. Chloe knows exactly where to hit. Precision strike. Have you eaten? I asked. Another shake of the head. Eat first. I took the carrier she brought, went to the dining room, and opened it. The food was simple, but it was stone cold. I'll heat this up. And no, don't bother, Ethan. She tried to stop me. I ignored her and took the food to the kitchen. She followed me like a shadow, leaning against the doorframe, crying softly as she watched me work. Under the kitchen lights, her face was a mess, red nose, tear-streaked cheeks. She looked pathetic. I set the heated food on the table. Eat. She sat across from me, picked up her fork, and took a tiny bite of rice, chewing for a long time before swallowing. Tears fell silently into her bowl. Eat your dinner. I'll handle the money and the phone, I said. She looked up, shaking her head frantically. No, I can't bother you. I can find another job. I can. And how long will you go hungry before you get paid? I looked at her. Sloan is sponsoring you so you can focus on school, not so you can stress over a few bucks. If your phone is gone and she can't reach you, she'll worry more. She bit her lip, silent, looking at me with watery eyes. I'll lend you the money for now. As for the phone, I paused. I'll buy you a new one tomorrow. We'll tell Sloan the old one broke. She stared at me, her lips trembling. Why? Why what? Why? Are you being so good to me? She asked, her voice a whisper. Sloan helps me, and I'm so grateful. But Ethan, you don't have to help me. You're someone Sloan cares about, I said. She looked down at her rice. It took a long time for her to speak, her voice almost inaudible. Only because of Sloan. Eat. I didn't answer. She finally started eating in small bites, her tears mixing with the food. After she finished, she insisted on washing the dishes. I gave her an old phone I had lying around, then sat on the sofa and transferred a sum of money to her account. Enough to last her until next month. I sent you some money. Did you get it? She pulled out the old phone and checked. I did. Thank you, Ethan. Don't worry about it. I checked the time. It was almost 10. How are you getting back to the dorms? Is the train still running? She gripped the phone, hesitating. I think the dorm gates are already locked for the night. I looked at her. She quickly added, I can go to 24-hour cafe or a library. Don't be ridiculous. I frowned. A young girl out alone all night? No. She shriveled a bit and stayed quiet. I rubbed my temples. Sloan was likely out late, maybe even staying at a hotel near the meeting. The guest room is empty. Stay the night, I said. Go back to school early tomorrow. She looked up sharply, a spark in her eyes that faded into shyness. And no, I'd be intruding. Just do it. I stood up and went to the guest room to find clean sheets. Set it up yourself. The bathroom is there. There are new towels in the cabinet. She kept her head low, her ears bright red. Thank you, Ethan. I went to my bedroom and shut the door. Soon, I heard faint, rustling sounds of her making the bed. Then the bathroom door closed, and the sound of the shower started. I leaned back and handled a few emails. The water stopped after a while, and the house fell silent. I turned off the light. Sometime later, in the haze of half-sleep, I heard a suppressed, tiny sob. It was coming from the guest room. I lay there in the dark for a moment. The crying didn't stop. It seemed to be getting worse. I sighed, got out of bed, and opened the door. The living room was dark, save for the city lights outside. The guest room door was slightly ajar, and the sobbing was clear now. I walked over and knocked lightly. The crying stopped instantly. "Chloe!" I pushed the door open. The room was dark. By the window light, I could see a small lump under the covers, shaking. I turned on the small night light. The warm yellow glow filled the room. Chloe was curled up, wrapped tightly in the blanket, only the back of her head and her dark hair visible on the pillow. She went rigid when she heard me, but didn't turn around. I stood by the bed, still crying. The figure under the blanket shivered. Then, she slowly turned her face. Her eyes were swollen like peaches, her face a mess of tears and hair. She looked at me with a gaze that was cowardly, fragile, and full of self-loathing. I'm sorry. Ethan, did I wake you? As soon as she spoke, her voice broke again. She buried her face in the pillow, her shoulders shaking. I sighed again and sat on the edge of the bed. Stop crying, I said. It happened. We solved it. Crying doesn't help. She buried her face deeper, her voice muffled, on the verge of a breakdown. I feel so useless. I can't do anything right. All I do is cause trouble for Sloan. And now I'm bothering you. Chloe Bennett. I said her name. The crying stopped. She slowly lifted her face from the pillow, looking at me through blurry eyes. No one is perfect. Making mistakes, having bad luck, it's normal. I looked into her eyes. Sloan doesn't help you because she thinks you're perfect. Neither do I. She blinked, a tear rolling down. It's because you're worth it, I finished. At least so far you are. She froze, staring at me, forgetting to cry. Under the warm light, her tear tracks were visible, her nose red, her lips slightly parted from the sobbing. Her eyes were wide, reflecting the light and my silhouette. So stop crying. I grabbed a tissue from the nightstand and handed it to her. Wipe your face and sleep. If your eyes are swollen tomorrow, it'll look even worse. She took the tissue but didn't move. She kept looking at me with a look I couldn't decipher. Confusion, disbelief, and something else. Then, she suddenly sat up. The blanket slid down. She was wearing one of my old t-shirts as a nightgown. It was huge on her, the collar slipping to one side, revealing a thin shoulder and a sharp collarbone. Her skin was blindingly white in the glow. She leaned forward, inch by inch, toward me. Her tear-streaked face, her swollen eyes, her trembling lashes, and that scent of tears and shampoo. It was all getting closer. So close I could see every wet lash. So close I could feel her warm, shaky breath on my chin. She stopped just an inch from my lips. She looked straight into my eyes. Ethan, she whispered, her voice thick with tears but strangely clear. If I become useful, if I become very, very powerful, more powerful than Sloan. She paused, sniffing, her eyes locked on mine, something wild surging behind them. Would you think I was worth it then? The air seemed to freeze. The night light cast an ambiguous glow over her face and the desperate, burning light in her eyes. I looked at her, at this face that still held tears but no more cowardice, only a stubborn, almost obsessive resolve. I didn't answer immediately. Audience comment. Holy crap. The tension. Of course you're worth it. Sloane's voice, laced with amusement, drifted from the doorway. Audience comment. What? Sloane's back. Audience comment. Oh, this is going to be good. It turned out Sloan had driven back through the night and had overheard the tail end of the conversation. Chloe recoiled instantly, pulling back like a startled rabbit. She yanked the blanket up to cover herself, leaving only her swollen eyes visible. I turned around. Sloan was leaning against the doorframe, a glass of water in her hand. She had a playful smile on her face as her gaze went between Chloe and me. Discussing the meaning of life in the middle of the night, are we? She walked in and sat naturally next to me, her hand resting on my leg as she looked at Chloe. Why are your eyes so swollen? Who's been picking on my Chloe? Chloe's face went from white to red. She gripped the blanket tight, her voice strained. No one. I lost something, and I was upset. I'm sorry if I woke you up, Sloan. Lost something? Sloan arched an eyebrow, then waved it off. Things can be replaced, as long as you're okay. Was it money? A phone? I'll have Ethan take you to get a new one tomorrow. No need. Ethan already. Chloe started, then stopped, glancing at me before looking down. Ethan already helped me. Problem solved then. Sloane let out a small yawn and leaned her head on my shoulder. Stop crying. It's not that big a deal. Go to sleep, or you'll have eyes like golf balls in the morning. She smelled of her shower and a hint of lingering wine. I put my arm around her shoulder and looked at Chloe. Get some rest. Chloe gave a barely audible hum. Sloane pulled me up, and we walked out, closing the door behind us. In the final second before it shut, I caught a glimpse of Chloe looking up. Her gaze was fixed on Sloane's hand on my arm. It was a look like ice and fire. Back in our room, Sloane kicked off her slippers and rolled into bed. Kids are such kids. Lose a phone and the world is ending. I lay down and turned off the light. In the dark, she scooted over, her arm wrapping around my waist, her breath warm against my back. You were pretty patient with her, though, she murmured, sleepy. She's your protege, isn't she? I said. She gave a low laugh and drifted off. In the morning, I woke up while Sloane was still asleep. Stepping out of the bedroom, I found Chloe already up. The dining table was set with fried eggs and warm milk. She was standing by the counter, her back to me. Hearing my footsteps, she turned. She looked composed, though her eyes were still slightly puffy. She gave me a faint smile, as obedient as ever. Good morning, Ethan. Breakfast is almost ready. Morning. I sat down. She brought over the eggs and milk, then turned to get something else. She returned with a small plate of sliced golden peaches. I found some peaches in the fridge. They're very sweet, she said, setting the plate by my hand and looking down. About last night. Thank you, Ethan. And I'm sorry. Audience comment. And so it begins. The peach offensive. Audience comment. Is she trying to show up Sloane's lack of domestic skills? Audience comment. She's marking her territory. I didn't say anything. I just took a bite of peach. It was indeed very sweet. She sat across from me, taking small sips of her milk, occasionally darting a quick look at me before looking away. The morning sun hit her, making her hair look soft and her neck look delicate. She looked clean and gentle, like nothing had happened. The doorbell rang. Sloane emerged from the bedroom, rubbing her eyes. Who's that so early? She went to open the door. It was the delivery guy from our usual brunch spot with several elegant containers. Sloane took them and turned to me with a smile. I figured you worked hard yesterday. I got your favorites, the truffle sliders and the smoked salmon bagels. She set the containers on the table and sat next to me, naturally leaning her chin on my shoulder. She looked at the eggs and peaches, then at Chloe. You're up early, Chloe, and you made breakfast? Thanks, honey. Chloe's fingers tightened around her glass, but she kept a shy smile on her face. It was no trouble, Sloane. I'm used to getting up early. She looked at Sloane's intimate posture with me. Ethan helped me a lot yesterday. It was the least I could do. Sloane didn't seem to notice anything. She picked up a slice of peach with her fork, but instead of eating it, she held it to my lips. Ah, she teased, like she was feeding a child. I hesitated for a second, then ate it. She lightly brushed a non-existent crumb from the corner of my mouth, her eyes crinkling. Sweet. Yeah. Across from us, Chloe took a large gulp of milk. Her lips looked a little pale when she set the glass down. Chloe, try these sliders. They're amazing, Sloane said enthusiastically, pushing the container to the middle of the table and offering her one. Chloe looked at the slider, then at Sloane's hand on my arm. She slowly picked up her fork and took it. Thank you, Sloane. She took a small bite, chewed slowly, and then looked up at me with a soft smile. It's delicious, but the knuckles of the hand holding her fork were white. Audience comment. I saw it. Knuckles turning white. Audience comment. The jealousy is real. Audience comment. Sloane's casual dominance is the ultimate move. Chloe barely spoke after that, quietly eating the food Sloane gave her. When she finished, she stood up to clear the dishes. Leave it. The housekeeper will be here later, Sloane said. Chloe paused but insisted on stacking the plates. It only takes a second. She carried them into the kitchen. The sound of running water soon drowned out everything else. Sloane leaned against me, tracing circles on my arm with her finger. That girl. She looks quiet, but she's stubborn, Sloane said. I didn't respond. When Chloe came out of the kitchen, her hands were wet, and she dried them on her apron. She looked at us, still cuddled together, and forced a thin smile. Sloane, Ethan, I'm all done. I have a class this morning, so I should head back. I'll have the driver take you, Sloane said. No, it's fine. The train is easy. Chloe shook her head, going to the foyer to change her shoes. As she leaned down, a stray lock of hair fell over her neck. All right then, get back safe. Text me when you get to campus. Sloane didn't push. I will. Bye, Sloane. Bye, Ethan. She straightened up, gave us one last quick look, and stepped out. The door clicked shut. Sloane leaned back against me, her eyes closed as if she was going back to sleep. After a few seconds, she spoke, her voice lazy but with a different edge. Ethan Miller. Yeah. Chloe, she paused. Is she getting a little too dependent on you? I looked at her. Her eyes were closed, her lashes casting small shadows on her cheeks. Is she? Yeah. Sloane opened her eyes. They were bright and searching, but mostly playful. Think about it. She loses her stuff and immediately comes to you crying. She stays up half the night talking to you about her worth. She makes you breakfast and cuts your peaches. She reached up and poked my chest. Mr. Miller, you've got quite the charm. I think our little sponsor flower is falling for you. I caught her finger. She's your protege. So, she's yours to manage, I said. Sloane stared at me for 2 seconds, then suddenly laughed. She leaned in to kiss my chin and pulled back with a look of clever realization. Got it. You're right. She's mine. I'll handle her. She stretched and stood up. But still, it's normal for a young girl to have a crush on someone like you. Just make sure you keep your eyes on the right target. Don't let a little wildflower distract you. She gave me a wink, then hummed a tune as she shuffled back to the bedroom to catch up on sleep. Story complete bonus. The hidden crush late night overtime at the end of the month. The entire floor was empty except for us. I finished the last report and looked up to find her asleep in the corner of the sofa. She was curled into a ball, clutching a tablet, her glasses slipping down her nose. Under the office lights, she looked incredibly young. I grabbed my blazer, intending to cover her. As I got close, I heard a faint murmur. Ethan. I froze. Her lashes fluttered, but she didn't wake. She just instinctively rubbed her cheek against the edge of the tablet, looking for comfort. I gently placed the jacket over her. As I backed away, I caught a glimpse of the tablet screen. It was an old photo. Sloane had her arms around both of our shoulders, laughing at the camera. But in the corner of the photo, Chloe's eyes were quietly fixed on my profile. That was her first summer at our place. It turns out some seeds were planted a long time ago. Audience comment. This detail is killing me. Audience comment. Sloane, do you even know? The morning sun began to peek through the windows. When she woke up, I was on my second cup of coffee. She scrambled to her feet, the blazer sliding off. I'm so sorry, Mr. Miller. I fell asleep. It's fine. I pushed a cup toward her. Yours. Latte, 3 sugars. She froze, looking at the coffee, then at me. For a moment, her eyes were suspiciously red, but she masked it perfectly. Thank you, Mr. Miller. She took a small sip, her lips curving into the tiniest smile. Just for a second, like a child who had successfully snuck a piece of candy. The door flew open, and Sloane burst in, smelling of fresh breakfast. Surprise. I'm here to take you both home. Chloe, why are your eyes red? Pulling another all-nighter. Chloe set the coffee down, her smile instantly switching to her professional secretary mode. No, is Loane. Just double-checking the data. Sloane ruffled her hair. Don't overwork yourself. Come on, let's get breakfast. I watched Chloe walk obediently beside Sloane, staying half a step behind. In a moment when Sloane wasn't looking, she turned and looked at me. It was brief, but I understood every unspoken word in that gaze. She was just hiding it deeper now, deep enough that even Sloane thought the little flower had let go of her obsession and grown into a professional. Some flowers don't bloom for people to watch, but some words are destined to remain unspoken, buried forever in her heart. Story complete.